Hello, my name is Alan Cheng Chao, and my capstone topic is about physical interfaces for AI generative melodies. And before I get into details, I want to clarify several terms. For example, what I mean by physical interfaces in my context. Basically, I want to say that physical interfaces is a term of saying digital musical instruments, which is digital because it is produced by current technologies, and musical instruments is because they still function as a musical instruments that can play music. For example, these are two projects done by one by Google Magenta, and another is basically a motion capture device for controlling electronic sounds. And also, I want to clarify what is AI generative music. Basically, AI generative music is here because we have a vast development of a lot of deep learning algorithms, especially the generative ones, and then they basically fit into two categories. One being the symbolic domain. Basically, you generate notes in MIDI, and then these notes can be applied to any sound. And the other is just generate raw audio data, which is another category, but I will be focusing basically on the symbolic domain, or like the MIDI data. And this is defined by a book chapter called Artificial Intelligence for Music Composition, but in general, it is a well-acknowledged fact in that area. Also, my research question is going to be, how would people interact with digital technologies and generative AI to perform and create music? What factors are to consider to design digital instruments for AI-human co-creations in writing melodies? So basically, by diving into the course of discussing how to design digital musical instruments, I find several design methodologies, or I can say theoretical frameworks in this area, and one being a very important term is called mapping. Mapping is a very common used word, but specifically in this area of study, basically mapping is by digesting this creation of playing music into three discrete steps. The first being that there is an agent, or there is a human being that is capable of inputting gestures. For example, when I'm playing a piano, my hand is on the keyboard like this. I'm pressing the keys, and then this is my input gestures. And then there is a mapping mechanism. That means that what kind of gestures is incapable of creating what kind of sound. And so basically the third part is the sound production. Basically it means like maybe what pitch of the note did I play, and then what is the strength, the velocity, and like other factors of sound creation. But however, somebody also says that this kind of mapping strategy maybe it's not enough for designing digital musical instruments, because there are other factors that maybe computationally we can use other kind of things to have a more random control in this process. But however, there are another kind of discourse on the other hand, which is called embodied music cognition. And this is actually not only for digital music instruments, but actually humans' interaction with music in general. Basically, this author, he talked about a sort of framework that the observer have an assessment of a state. Basically, it means that like the observer being like a human being, and then it have a high mental state of assessing what the music is, and then the state will create a pattern. The pattern will interact with the observer. Basically means, for example, if I have a piece is Winter by Vivaldi, and then this mental state is the imagination of winter, the pattern being the actual sound, and then the observer is basically the performer or the listener. Actually, so that there are also authors that summarizing these two texts have found that the basic framework for human interaction with music and the machine computation of music is actually very similar. For example, the human perception corresponds to the machine input. The connections in human brain, how we perceive music, is basically the mapping I talked about earlier. And our actions are actually also very similar to what is the output of the machines. And this gives me a very clear insight that agencies in human and machine creation are actually a very interesting topic. But what is agency in general? Basically, Latour and Gale, two anthropology, sociology, philosophy authors, have pinned out that agencies in art creation could be said that agency maybe have a ability to alter the current state of affairs, means that maybe you can alter what is going on right now. And also art could be basically the actions, the products of the creation, and agencies are the things that can cause events to happen in their vicinity. And also, on the other hand, there's also a very long discourse about what is instrument technology, or basically musical instruments that's developed in history. So there is a discussion about what is tool, what is machines, and then the author has claiming that musical instruments are both tools and machines. Basically means sometimes tools are the things that you don't necessarily have maybe effects on the performer, on the user, but machines are sort of semi-autonomous. They have their own thoughts of actions. So this is very interesting because at this stage we are already talking about the possibilities of AI-human co-creation, because we can see nowadays generative AI algorithms are really powerful. For example, we can see this year there's a lot of algorithms for image generation. We have DALL-E 2, we have Midjourney, we have Stable Diffusion. These are very powerful tools. And then this area of AI-human co-creation is very hot, but yet defined by a lot of scholars. So this is the area I want to create. And also, I want to dig into more musical improvisation and maybe studies on human gestures. Thank you.